Okay, we are discussing about the stem. Okay, we already said stem is usually the structure which will grow vertically above the soil, which bears branches, leaves, flowers, fruits, and seeds. And what is the major difference between root and the stem is the stem possesses nodes and internodes, whereas the root do not have nodes and internodes. That means the nodes and internodes are absent in the root. Okay, what is a node? Okay, the region on the stem where leaf arises is called node. The space between two adjacent nodes, we are calling it as internode. Okay, and next, along with the, okay, and next, when you observe the leaf, the region where the leaf arises on the stem, we are calling as node. When a leaf arises on, sorry, when a leaf arises on the stem, okay, the angle between the stem and the leaf, we are calling it as axil. Okay, and the buds that are present in the axil of the leaf, we are calling it as axillary bud. Okay, similarly, the bud is also present at the terminal part of the shoot system. That is, it may be the main stem or a branch. And these okay buds we call it as terminal buds. Okay, and when you observe the stem is the main function of the stem is conducting water, minerals, and photosynthate to different parts of the plant. That is, the products that are produced as a result of photosynthesis are transported to different parts of the plant. Okay, along with they are bearing this branches, flowers, fruits, leaves. Okay, and next the nodes and internodes, buds, axillary bud, and terminal bud. Along with that, okay, but in all the plants, the stem is not typical. In some plants, the stem is modified to perform various functions. Okay, and these we study under the modifications of stem. Okay, in that already we have discussed about the storage. Okay, the storage stem, or we can say tuberous stem. Okay, that means the becomes swollen due to the storage of food material. Okay, such a stem we are calling it as a tuberous stem. And in some plants, the stem is not only aerial, but some part of the stem will be present inside the soil. And such a portion of the stem we call it as a underground stem. Why some part of the stem remains inside the soil means, okay, this portion of the stem which is placed inside the soil is meant to store food material, so that the food material is protected from the herbivorous animals being grazing. So we can observe the different plants with underground stems, okay, storing the food material and becoming tuberous. The best example is a potato. Okay, when you observe the potato, okay, when you observe the potato, okay, from the underground stem, okay, from the underground part of the stem, the branches are developed, and the tip of these branches, the food material is stored. Due to the storage of these tips of the branches, okay, the tips become swollen with irregular shape, and such structure we are calling it as a potato. Okay, and next, in case of ginger and turmeric, also the underground part of the stem, okay, which grows horizontally below the soil, that is parallel to the soil surface, and becomes swollen due to the storage of food material. Due to the storage of the food material. And in case of Jamaican and Colocasia, here also the underground part of the stem becomes swollen due to the storage of food material. Due to the storage of the food material. But okay, these stems, the stems in case of or the underground stems in case of Jamaican and Colocasia, they grow vertically. Okay, they will not grow like turmeric and ginger. They will grow vertically, and this underground stem will store food material and becomes swollen, and that we are calling it as a corm, commonly called as corm. Okay, Colocasia and Jamaican. But in case of turmeric and ginger, we call it as a rhizome. That means if the underground stem growing horizontally and becomes swollen due to the storage of food material, then such structures we call it as rhizomes. And if the underground stem becomes swollen due to the storage of food material, due to the storage of the food material, then such a structures we are calling commonly as corms. So Jamaican and Colocasia are examples for corm. Ginger and turmeric are examples for rhizome. And a potato we commonly call it as a tuberous stem because they don't have particular shape and particular arrangement. Okay, that is. And next, another important thing that is related to this underground stems. As these underground stems are storing the food material, okay, even the, okay, due to certain reasons, if the upper part of the plant is removed, okay, either by the grazing animals or by the wind or by the floods or something like that, the upper part of the plant, that means the aerial part of the plant, might be destroyed. But after a certain period of time, when the conditions are favorable, by using the underground stem, because okay, it can survive for a longer period because it is having a large amount of reserve storage of food material, so it will survive. And when the conditions are favorable for the growth of these plants, by using this underground stems, they can develop into a new plant. So the plant can survive for longer periods because of the presence of this storage of food material in the underground. And this propagation by underground stems, we are called, okay, we are calling them as a perennation. Okay, there is so they also act as organs of perennation to tide over conditions unfavorable for growth. So when the conditions are not favorable, the upper part of the plant might be destroyed, but the underground stem remains. And when the conditions are favorable, again the new plant will be developed from this underground stem. So that was okay. So it is helping the plant to grow for many years. That's why we are calling it as a perennation. Okay, so that helps in okay, this underground storage food materials are helping in perennation and helping in vegetative propagation also. Okay, and next, stem tendrils. Okay, what is a tendril? Okay, tendril is a slender, spirally coiled structure. Okay, which can coil over the support and helps the plant for climbing. So this such a slender and spirally coiled structures that are developed from the stem, we are calling it as a stem tendrils. Why we are specifically mentioning tendril means the tendrils are formed from different parts of the plant. Okay, in some the tendril might be okay formed from the leaf. Okay, in some the tendril might be produced from different parts like a axillary bud, terminal bud. Okay, in some terminal bud is modified, in some axillary bud is modified, in some the stipules are modified into tendrils, and in some the lamina, okay, the petiole is modified into tendril. Okay, like this in different parts. So all are related to the stem only, but okay, but here we are discussing about okay, the main stem. Okay, all the okay, whatever we have discussed is the tendrils, the different okay, which are developed from different parts, all they are related to stem only. Okay, because the leaf the part of the stem. Okay, and next the stipules which are present at the base of the leaf. Okay, and next axillary buds and terminal buds, they are also developed on the stem only. Okay, all these are the parts of the stem, but here we are specifically mentioning stem tendril because it is developing from the main stem, the terminal bud. Okay, the terminal bud is modifying into a tendril, spirally coiled structure. Okay, slender spirally coiled structure. Okay, that is semi okay, and okay, and even if the tendrils are developed from axillary buds, that is also considered as a stem tendril. So if the tendril develops either from terminal bud or axillary bud, then such a type of tendrils are regarded as tendrils. So okay, stem tendrils which develop from axillary buds are slender and spirally coiled and help plants to climb, such as in gourds. Okay, we'll find no ridge gourd, bitter gourd. Okay, in next in case of cucumber, pumpkins, watermelons, in all this, okay, if you have got this cucumber or in pumpkin, okay, in your garden, once you go and observe, we can observe very clearly. Okay, at the tip of the plant, we'll find a slender spirally coiled structure, and this coil will okay, this coiled structure will coil around a certain thread or any stick and helps in climbing. Okay, that is. And in grapevines, in case of grapes. Okay, in all this, we can observe the auxiliary bud or terminal bud is modified into a tendril. Okay, and next, not only that, in some plants, the auxiliary buds or the stems may also get modified into a woody, straight, and pointed thorns. Thorn. Okay, to protect against the grazing animals. Okay, what happened? The auxiliary are modified into a woody, straight, pointed structures, which we call them as thorns. Okay, thorns are found in many plants such as citrus. Okay, if you have got the lemon, okay, lemon, okay, lemon plant in your garden, once go and check, we'll find some curved structures, curved pointed structures on the stems. Okay, these are nothing but thorns. And in case of bougainvillea, okay, we can observe a large number of bougainvillea plants on the roadside. Okay, these are having a long pointed structures which are developed from axillary bud. Okay, they are okay, colorful. Okay, pink, white, yellow, violet, like this, differently colored the flowers are. And when you observe the plant, okay, we'll find okay, long, sharp, pointed structures developed on the stem, and these structures we are calling it as thorns. Okay, what is the main purpose of these thorns? Means they protect the plants from browsing animals. Browsing animals. Browsing means that is eating, grazing. And some plants of arid region modify the stems into flattened or fleshy cylindrical structures. Okay, that means okay, generally the stem is a cylindrical, round in shape, elongated. Okay, cylindrical and elongated in shape, usually the stem. But in some plants which are growing in arid condition, that means a desert, where water content is less available or water scarcity is there. In those regions also, there are some plants growing. And how they are adapted to grow in that environment means, okay, here the stem becomes flattened and thick. The best example is Opuntia. Generally, we'll go this Opuntia as a show purpose in the houses. Okay, it is having a oval-like structure which is green in color, and on that we'll find a large number of spines. They are not as thorns; they are called as spines. Why? Because these are modified leaves. That spines are the modified leaves. The leaves are reduced to spines, are modified to okay, develop into spines. Okay, they are also sharp pointed structures, but they are modified leaves. That's why they are called spines. But here we are not discussing about the leaf modification. Here we are discussing about a modification of the stem. Here generally the stem is long and cylindrical, but here the stem is flattened and thick, and it is a green in color and performs photosynthesis because of the presence of chlorophyll, because the leaves are absent. the leaves are absent. Why? Because they are they are modified. Okay, that is, some plants of arid region modify their stems into flattened, that is opuntia, or fleshy cylindrical structures called euphorbia. Okay, in case of opuntia, it is a flattened, and in case of euphorbia, it is a fleshy and a cylindrical. Okay, in both, they contain chlorophyll and carry photosynthesis. Okay, and carry out photosynthesis. Okay, that is what we can see here. We can see here. Okay, in Bougainvillea, we can observe the sharp pointed structures developing from the axillary bud. Okay, okay, wherever the axillary bud is present, at that point we can observe this. They are modified into thorns. Okay, and you can here we can see the tendrils. The axillary bud modified into a tendril. And next, okay, and next there are some plants in which the underground stems of some plants such as grass and strawberry, etc., spread to new niches, that means new places. And when older parts die, new plants are formed from these parts, from these underground stems. Okay, when you observe here, the under, okay, in the, okay, that means the stem, okay, the stems will grow horizontally just below the soil, just, okay, that is just covered with the soil, just near to the surface, just covered by the soil. They grow horizontally below the soil. And okay, and okay, in the underground itself only they spread to different parts of the area. Okay, different, okay, they will spread to different areas. Okay, whenever the old parts die, okay, from this underground stems, the new plants are developed. Okay, so that it can spread to different parts or different areas. Okay, such we can observe in case of grass and strawberry, in strawberry also. Okay, and next, in some plants like a mint and a jasmine, in some plants like a mint and jasmine, a slender lateral branch arises from the base of the main axis, and after growing aerially for some time, arch downwards to touch the ground. Okay, so that means in case of mint and jasmine, okay, mint especially, we can observe in mint what happens from the underground stem, a branch will be developed, and that one will grow in an inclined manner, that means at certain angle, and comes out of the soil and becomes aerial, and that aerial part will form the shoots. Okay, it will form, okay, and such structures we call it as suckers. Okay, we can observe in case of mint, in case of banana. Okay, from the underground stem, small branches will develop, and these branches will grow in an inclined manner, and because it is developed from the underground stem. So this branch initially develops in the soil and later becomes aerial. And this aerial part will develop the shoots, branches, leaves, flowers, and all that. Okay, in the later period of time, this branch, after developing the shoots, it gets detached from the parent plant and develops into a new plant. And such structures, we call them as suckers. Remember this one, sucker, in mint and banana. Okay, even if you observe, okay, if you have got a banana plant in your garden, okay, old banana plant in your garden, once go and check surrounding the stem of the banana near the soil, okay, near the soil of the, okay, close to the main stem, will find small plants arising, small plants. Okay, these small plants are nothing but suckers. Okay, even, okay, we'll go to the market now and we'll buy mint, that is pudina, mint, okay, mint twigs will buy. Okay, they will tie in a bundle and they'll sell it. Okay, what are those twigs? Means these twigs are nothing but suckers. They will never cut the main plant. They will never cut the main plant. Okay, they will cut down the suckers, and because when they cut the suckers, again the suckers will develop into new shoots. New suckers are regularly formed. So what they will do, they remove the suckers and they will bundle it and they are sold in the market. Okay, now. And next, when you observe in case of jasmine, okay, in jasmine, what happens means, okay, the branches which are developed from the lower nodes, the branches which are present very close to the soil, that is from the lower nodes, they will bend, and they will, when they comes in contact with the soil, okay, they can develop into a new plant. Okay, that means the portion which comes in contact with the soil, at that point they readily form the roots. They readily form the roots, and they can develop, okay, and later they can develop into a new plant. And such structures, we are calling it as stolons. We'll call them as stolons. And we said in grasses, the underground stems are moving through the soil and they develop into a new plants when old plants are destroyed. And such structures we call it as runners. Runners, suckers, stolons. And the next one is offsets. OFFSET, offset. Okay, what is that offset means? A lateral branch with short internodes, each node bearing a rosette of leaves, and a tuft of roots is found in aquatic plants like Pistia and Iconia. Okay, in Pistia and Iconia. What happens? Okay, the stem will grow horizontally with the short internodes. At every node on the above, we'll find a tuft of leaves, and from the lower region of the node, a tuft of roots are developed. Okay, and these short internodal structures. Okay, the stem with short internodal structures and bears tuft of leaves and tuft of roots at every node. Such structures are called as offsets. Okay, we call it as offsets. Okay, these offsets are observed in Pistia and Eichhornia. Okay, and already I told you about this one, suckers in banana, pineapple, and chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum, you know chrysanthemum, the flower. Okay, like a marigold. Like marigold, it looks like, but not that much thick. In marigold, it is very thick, but in chrysanthemum, it is somewhat okay. The structures are very thin. Okay, that is a chrysanthemum. Okay, in banana, pineapple, and chrysanthemum, the lateral branches originate from the basal and portion of the main stem, grow horizontally beneath the soil, and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to leafy shoots. So from the underground stem, some shoots are developed, and this one will grow in an oblique manner or inclined manner. That means at certain angle to the to the underground stem, and later becomes aerial, and this aerial part will forms the leafy shoots. And such structures we are calling them as suckers. It is observed in banana, pineapple, and chrysanthemum. Okay. Okay, these are that means the stem is modified to store the food material inside the soil, that is called underground stems. And in some, the axillary buds are modified into tendril. Okay, and in some, the axillary buds are modified into thorns. And next, in some, the stem is becomes flattened or cylindrical in shape and expanded, and it is green in color and performs photosynthesis. Okay, and in some, the underground stems helps in a vegetative propagation in the form of runners, suckers, stolons, offsets. Okay, these are the different types of modifications of a stem. Anybody is having any doubt regarding the stem?
No, sir.
And next, the leaf. Already we said where the leaf arises on the stem, the region where the leaf arises on the stem is called node. Okay, the leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure born on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil, okay, which we are calling it as axillary bud. So generally, when you observe the leaf is flattened lateral. Okay, it develops on the lateral side of the stem, and it is a flattened structure. Generally, the leaf is a flattened structure. Okay, it develops on the stem. It never develops on the root. That is what you have to remember. Okay, and next, where the leaf arises means the leaf arises at a node. Okay, and next we already said the angle between the stem and the leaf, we are calling it as axil, and the bud that develops in the axil of the leaf, we are calling it as the axillary bud. And what is the function of this axillary bud? Okay, it is having different functions depending upon the requirement of the plant. Okay, it may be developed into different structures like okay, the axillary bud later develops into a branch mainly. Okay, in most cases the axillary bud develops into a branch. The axillary bud develops into a branch. Okay, in some it may be developed into a thorn, or it may be tendril, or it may be developed into a flower, or it may be developed into a inflorescence, like that. Depending upon the requirement of the plant body, it may be modified into different structures, but in most cases the axillary bud develops into a branch. Okay, and next, leaves originate from shoot apical meristem and are arranged in an acropetal order. So, okay, from where the leaf is originated, or which is from where it is formed. Okay, that means that during the growth of the plant, some of the meristematic cells are left at a node, and some of these meristematic cells will develop into a leaf. So the leaves originate from shoot apical meristem, arranged in an acropetal order. Acropetal means old leaves at the base of the stem and young leaves at the tip of the stem. That means the arrangement is from old to new, or old to young. Old to young leaves. Old leaves at the base, that is at the lower end, and new leaves at a, or young leaves at a tip. Such a arrangement we are calling it as a acropetal manner. Acropetal manner. And next, what is the main function of the leaf means? The main function of the leaf is to perform photosynthesis. So they are okay, they are the most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. Most important organs of photosynthesis. And next, okay, when you observe the structure of a leaf, okay, when you observe the structure of a leaf, we can see here, okay, this is the stem, and the region where the leaf arising from the stem, that one we are calling it as a node. Okay, and next, the point of attachment of the leaf with the stem, we are calling it as the leaf base. That means the structure with which the leaf is attached with the stem, we are it as the leaf base. We are calling it as the leaf base. And next, at the leaf base, we can observe here small green color leafy structures. Okay, these are called as stipules. Okay, these are called stipules. Okay, what is the function of the stipules mean? Okay, the stipules will protect the leaf when the leaf is young. Okay, these stipules are involved in protecting the leaf when they are protect the leaf from dehydration. When the leaf is in a young condition, that means when it's formed. At the time, these stipules which are present at the leaf base will cover the leaf and protect the leaf from dehydration. That is a law, okay, drying up, preventing from a drying up. Okay, and in all the leaves, the stipules are not present. Okay, in some plants only we'll find the stipules, and in some plants the leaves do not possess, or the leaf base do not possess the stipules. Okay, if the stipules are present in the leaf, we call it as a stipulate. The leaf is a stipulate, we say. Okay, if the leaf base do not possess the stipules, then we call it as a X stipulate. Okay, if the leaf do not possess the stipules, or if the leaf base do not possess stipules, then such leaves are described as X stipulate. X E X S T I P U L A T E. Okay, if the stipules are present, stipulate. If stipules are absent, X stipulate. Okay, and next we already said the point. Okay, the structure with which the leaf attached to the stem, we are calling it as leaf base. And next, the next structure is the petiole. So the stalk of the leaf, we are calling it as a petiole. Okay, it is a flexible. Okay, and it will not resist to the wind currents. That means it helps in freely waving of the leaf due to wind currents, and helps in bending of the leaf in different directions, so that the leaf or the lamina is exposed to maximum sunlight. And next, when you observe, the petioles of old leaves are longer, and the petioles of the young leaves are shorter, so that, okay, the all the leaves will receive the maximum amount of sunlight. So that means the petiole will helps in freely waving of the leaf to the wind currents, and it also raises the leaf so that the leaf, okay, the leaf well exposed to maximum sunlight. And next, the next structure is the lamina. What is lamina? The expanded portion of the leaf, we are calling it as the lamina. The expanded portion of the leaf, which is the site for photosynthesis, we are calling it as the lamina. Okay, when you observe this lamina, okay, the edges of the lamina we call it as margin. The margin of the lamina is or irregular. Here we can see the irregular. Okay, the margin is irregular in this diagram what we are showing. Okay, but in some it is smooth. And next, and the okay, we'll find the tip of the lamina. The tip of the lamina in some plants it is pointed, and in some it is round, and in some it is pointed. Here we can see pointed tip. And next, when you observe the lamina, what the lamina consists of? Okay, at the center of the lamina, we'll find a large vein. Okay, this large vein which is present at the center of the lamina, we are calling it as a midrib. We are calling it as a midrib. And the structures, the lateral structures that are arising from this midrib, we call it as veins. And the small veins that are arising from this lateral veins, we are calling it as veinlets. We are calling it as veinlets. So that is okay. That is the brief introduction to the leaf. So the leaf mainly consists of three parts: leaf base, petiole, and the lamina. What is the leaf base means? The structure with which the leaf attaches with the stem, we are calling it as a leaf base. Okay, and the stalk of the leaf, we are calling it as a petiole. And the expanded part of the leaf, we are calling it as a lamina, which is the site of photosynthesis. And the edges of the leaf, we are calling it as a margin. The margin of the leaf might be round, okay, maybe smooth or irregular. Okay, and the tip of the lamina may be round or pointed. And the large vein which is present at the center of the leaf, we are calling it as a midrib. And the veins that are developed from this midrib, we are calling it as lateral veins. And the small that are arising from this lateral veins, we are calling it as veinlets. Okay, that is okay. These are the some of the structures that we observe with this. That's what we can see here. So a typical leaf consists of three main parts. That is a leaf base, petiole, and a lamina. Okay, the leaf is attached to the stem by leaf base. And next, and one thing you have to remember, ma. Okay, when you observe here, okay, here the leaf base is normal. Here the leaf base is normal. But in some plants, okay, the leaf base is swollen. Okay, the leaf base is swollen. Such a swollen leaf base we call it as a pulvinous leaf base. Such a leaf base we are calling it as a pulvinous leaf base. In case of beans, okay, in case of beans, we can observe this pulvinous leaf base. Okay, in case if you have got the bean plant in your garden, once go and observe, the leaf base will be thick or swollen. Such a swollen leaf base we call it as a pulvinous leaf base. And in some plants, okay, the leaf base will encircle the stem or whorls around the stem. Okay, such a leaf base we call it as a sheathy leaf base. It is observed in most of the monocotyledonous plants. In most of the monocotyledonous plants, the leaf base whirls around the stem. Such a type of leaf base we call it as a sheathy leaf base. Okay, we can observe. Okay, if you have got rice plants in your nearby place, once you go and observe, okay, the leaf is encircling. The leaf base will encircle the stem at some part of the leaf base. Okay, that is, so that's what we can see here. Okay, so the leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base, and many bear two lateral small leafy structures called petioles. So a pair of small leafy structures on the lateral sides of the leaf base are present in some plants, and these structures we call it as stipules. If stipules are present, we call it as stipulate, and if stipules are absent, we call them as ex-stipulate. And next, already I told you, in monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into a sheath, covering the stem partially or wholly. Okay, the leaf bases will encircle the stem either partially or completely, and such leaf bases we call it as a sheathy leaf bases. And in some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, called pulvinous leaf base, we say. Okay, in case of leguminous plants like beans, grams, peas, in all that we'll find this pulvinous leaf base. And next, the petiole help hold the blade to light. Okay, the stalk of the leaf we are calling it as a petiole, and it holds the blade. Blade means the lamina. Okay, and it exposes to the light. Long, thin, flexible petioles allow leaf base to flutter in wind. That means move according to the wind currents. Flutter means blow. Okay, flow. Okay, that is a flow or a move according to the wind. That is wind currents. They're bringing the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface, because it is the site of active physiological activities. So a lot of heat is generated because of all these metabolic activities. So to keep the leaf cool and to get fresh air, okay, the leaf has to be flexible, and that flexibility to the leaf is provided by the petiole. And next, the lamina. The lamina or the leaf blade is the green expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlets. Okay, with the vein and veinlets. Okay, there is usually a middle prominent vein, that large vein, which is clearly seen. A middle prominent means clearly visible, thick, large, like that. Okay, so there is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Okay, and along with that we'll also find the lateral veins and veinlets. So what is the function of all these veins? Means veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade. That means that stiffness. Okay, so that it can expand and get a maximum. Okay, it can receive maximum sunlight. So that rigidity is provided by these veins. So veins provide rigidity to the blade or leaf blade and act as channels of transport for water, minerals, and food materials. because the veins consist of the transport tissue, that is xylem and phloem. So these veins not only providing rigidity to the leaf lamina, but they also act as the channels for the transport of